I'm Kristine Beckerle, and I'm a Socioeconomic Rights Advisor with Amnesty International's Middle East North Africa Division. Sure. So one of the things that I'm doing in my job is looking at a range of different socioeconomic rights and socioeconomic rights violations. One of the key rights that we're looking at right now is the right to water, and part of the reason for that, as everybody knows, the Middle East and North Africa is one of the most water-scarce regions in the world. But when we talk about that, we often talk about how much water a country has or how much water agriculture or industry uses. But the human rights approach says no, the priority needs to be on people's access to water, and every person has the right to sufficient, safe water. And we talk about that a lot now because people are talking about the impact that climate change is having on the amount of water in MENA countries, as we should be talking about that. It's a real crisis that we are currently facing and will continue to face. But one of the things that we as Amnesty are looking at is not just, oh, there's this threat of climate change coming and impacting the amount of water that has, and thus impacting the amount of water people have, but we're looking at what is the role of governments in this region to ensure that people's right to water is met, that they protect the water resources that they currently have, for example, from environmental degradation, pollution, the effects of conflict, and how they also ensure that water is managed appropriately and that people are not discriminated against in their access to water. Because one of the things you always find is that you might say, okay, people in this country have this amount of per capita water, but actually you need to look at how much water do, for example, rural people have? How much water do refugees and migrants have? How much water do people who are less well off have? And you also see really rampant discrimination in this region. For example, one of the most obvious examples is in Israel-Palestine, where the amount and the access of water that Palestinians have had access to is much, much less than what Israelis have had access to. And Amnesty has looked at that, for example, in the context of our work on apartheid.